right now. Okay. All right.
Got it.
Got it? Okay. Did you get it too, Michelle?
What chat?
What you
No.
sending?
No.
Yeah, where did it send it?
1 second.
If you post it on Facebook, it will show up.
Right. It's on the ladies uplifting page. I'll tag you, Michelle, on there so you could probably do I?
I'll see
Can I
once
tag
it
you though?
pops up. Uh-huh.
Are you both friends on Facebook?
Yeah, I just saw Diana's post.
Right, because if
You saw
Michelle,
mine, Michelle?
right, because Michelle, if you didn't like the
Yeah.
page, I may not be able to tag you. The ladies uplifting page.
Yeah, I think I liked it. Permission required.
Oh, okay, let me see. I'm gonna tag Veronique if anything, so she can. All right, I'm gonna put it on my page as well. So, copy link. Okay, here's it, Michelle. That should work, Michelle. You see it on the chat?
Yes.
Okay. Carlene, you see it on the chat? You can copy it as well if you'd like.
I can't see it.
Okay, if you're using your phone, you probably have to slide the screen.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, welcome back to another week on Ladies Uplifting and Inspiring. It's Friday, and today we will be talking a little bit about immigration. How is the pandemic affecting immigrants and their status? And this week we have with us two expert lawyers on our panel. We have Michelle Fanger and we also have Mrs. Dione Winter. Could you help me pronounce your last name, please?
Funde.
Funde. Okay, and we also have another queen on our special guest list. We have Mrs. Carlene Dudney Graham. So guys, we just want you to get comfortable, as you know how we do. Sit back, relax, and also don't forget, participate. You can comment on our chat, on the chat below, and you can also make sure you have your questions. We can also ask your questions, and we will try our best to answer as many as we can. Now is the time that you have the opportunity to get free consultation, so to speak. Okay, so let's get into it. It's Friday, ladies uplifting and inspiring. And once again, on behalf of all the other ladies, Angela, you all know she's on the back end and she's taking care of other stuff for us. And we just want to thank her. Vanille, wherever you are, I hope you're tuned in. If you want to join us, you know the color is red. Here we go. And we're gonna get going. And I am going to start off with Diani, followed by Michelle, and then Carlene, you could just go ahead and introduce yourselves, please.
Hello, everyone. For those that who do not know me, my name is Attorney Diani Winter Funde. I am an immigration law attorney located here in Tampa. I practice law both here in the United States and in my home country of Jamaica. So whatever you need, whether it's here or Jamaica, I am available. I want to take a moment to thank Queen Cleopatra for having me on your lovely show. And when she said to wear red, she didn't tell us to pretty up like she did. She just said wear red. So duly noted. Next time I will be prepared. So I specialize in family-based immigration. I do also a lot of removal defense work. For my practice in Jamaica, I do trauma, um, personal injury, anything that results out of some kind of medical malpractice, whether it's on the part of a physician or otherwise. And tonight, I know we're going to talk about how the pandemic has affected immigrants. And I look forward to being a part of the discussion. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Queen Diani. And now, Michelle.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Fanger. I'm an attorney and I'm located in Jacksonville, Florida. I have my own practice. The name is the Fanger Law Firm PLLC. I do immigration. I do tax and family law for Florida. For family law, I handle divorce cases, child custody. Well, it's now called time sharing in Florida, and child support. For immigration, I do family-based petitions. I do humanitarian petitions, and I do deportation proceedings, and also entertainment. In my tax practice, because usually I have clients through my family law that have family law issues, or immigration usually have tax issues. So I do resolution for taxes, or oftentimes I do represent them in court proceedings. And I look forward to being here. It's my first time on this panel. And thank you for the invitation. And I hope I provide some form of information that will assist someone and inspire someone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Queen Michelle. And now going over to Mrs. Carlene. Your turn.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not a lawyer. I am just Evangelist Carly, and I'm bringing the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So I am a mother, I'm a wife, and an entrepreneur, and I also nurse's aide. So I'm just here taking care of all of y'all, spiritually and physically.
And I
My,
thank you so much.
my name is Carly Dudney, and I live in Texas, in the state of Addison. So you can all come down here for all y'all visit. Y'all hear me now? Y'all can come down for y'all visits.
Okay, Mrs. Graham, thank you so much for that. And my daughter is on here. Talisa, will you also go ahead and introduce yourself?
Good night, everyone. I
Right.
am located in Jamaica. I am a high school student, and I am here to collect information on the topic tonight and also ask questions if I have any.
All right. Thank you so
Thank you,
much,
Talisa.
Talisa. So that's my daughter. She's in Jamaica, as you heard her. All right. So when I called for her, she didn't want to come, and now she's telling me today, "Oh, mommy, I'm sorry I didn't take the opportunity." And guess what? They just sent me back a letter to say they closed the case. So hey, I gotta
You
redo
can
all of
reopen
that.
it.
Yes, I
You
can.
could, I tried to.
Yes. All right. So that was 2 years ago, and they had approved everything was just for her to go to the embassy to finish up
And she
everything
didn't want to
down here.
come.
No, she thinking about my friends and crying and acting the fool. Yes.
That's
That's
one of the
it.
first, you know what? That one of the first thing that we used to have suffer with sometime as family. And that's a really good starting to say sometimes it's not just people want to stay, people don't want to travel.
Right, but
Yeah.
that's okay though. The good thing is that she still can come here. She has her visa, and will just do the process all over again or whatever. Now I
Yeah.
have two lovely queens who are lawyers I can always contact and get stuff done.
And say, let's get it started.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Also, I want to thank all of you on behalf of the ladies here at Ladies Uplifting and Inspiring for taking the opportunity as well to say yes to our invitation and to be here to edify us as well as the world at large, our viewers especially. We just want to say thank you for tuning in every week. So I'm going to start with Mrs. Dioni. I read your profile and you had a little story. Can you tell us, share your story a
Which
little bit?
one? I have
I think
so
the
many
one that
stories.
as it relates to your immigration status or something like that. So yeah.
All right. So in addition to being a lawyer, I take a lot of social responsibility in sharing my story because I think a lot of times when we immigrate, we, for lack of a better word, throw stone behind we, and we're not
Yeah.
sharing our stories so others can understand and learn and grow. So I share every Wednesday. I share my story or a part of my story. I grew up in Jamaica and I left Jamaica as an adult. So when I left Jamaica, I was 21 years old. My mother had immigrated prior. So she left Jamaica, left all of us in Jamaica. Talisa, yes, I was in Jamaica like you too without my mommy. In fact, when my mother left Jamaica, I was 13 years old. And I think the next time I saw her, I was 18. So it was about like 5 years. And I didn't have a visa where we could visit her or anything of that sort. So she left, came to the United States and got herself sorted and then did the process for us to come across. So I did immigrate legally. And I always say that does not mean that I don't understand the story of the undocumented or that I don't understand the story or the challenges of what our undocumented friends and family face. So I've been in the United States a little bit over 20 years now. I think I'm going on. So it's 1996. So I'm going on maybe 22, 23 years. And I've dedicated the bulk of my life, the bulk of my professional career to serving the immigrant community in some capacity. I started out as a domestic violence advocate. I moved on to developing and creating programs for immigrants, and I'm talking 10, 12, 13 years ago, until the point now where I am the owner and managing attorney at Winter Law Practice here in Tampa, Florida. So that's
Awesome.
kind of my story in a nutshell. I always stay very close to my immigrant community, and I pride myself on offering education because I think that's where the power lies, not so much in telling people, do this, do that, legalize, do this, do that. I think it's important that we educate our community so they understand what their options are. And so that's kind of my mantra at Winter Law is that we're going to educate our community at every step of the process.
Okay, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. Michelle, do you have any stories to give us how you came here before we get into the real nitty gritty of things?
Well, my story is kind of similar. Only thing I was left behind. My dad was here. He migrated before. My mom was a single mom. I didn't see my father for over 15 years,
Wow.
but he was the one that got me the opportunity to come here to live, attend college. But I lived in New York. So, when you live in New York, you interact with everybody that has like have no status. So you kind of know their story and everybody worked as a unit to help everybody to get by. So what we always do, and I always with my friends and family, is like we talk about the whole process. Cause you could come here and a lot of people like children fall trap to the society where they're trying to keep up with the Joneses. And then they end up having criminal issues. And then they don't understand it's going to impact them with their immigration status. Because a lot of them, usually either they have green card, they came here on a visa, and a family member just said, stay with us. So I've been around people without status, hustle 2 or 3 jobs just to get by. But then the good thing is that now I've been here over 20 years. You could see that because they put their effort into bettering themselves. Like now you could see like they own a business, like have several homes, but their story of where they started with nothing. They came here with nothing. They appreciated it. And a lot of them worked hard. So that's what I always tell people, like even with my clients, the younger ones, I always tell them they have two choices. Either you go to school, focus on school, or you hang around your friends and then end up in the court system. So, but I'm just like a regular teenager came here, just stick to the book, did what I had to do, just stayed focused.
Thank you for sharing that, Michelle. And Mrs. Carlene, how about you? Do you have any story to share before we get into?
Okay, I came here because of my daughter, and her dad came here, got married, came to America, and put in a petition for her, and she came here when she was like 7, 8 years old, going on 9, somewhere there. I don't remember, a long time ago. So she came here at that time, and after developing and become a teenager, young adult, and she went into the military, and she put in the petition for me. But on the other hand, she blamed me that I sent her. So I'm like, yeah, because when you go as a child, you can choose to come back and as adult. But if you were living home, you'd be like, why didn't you send me? So I made a choice to say, hey, you can go and create an opportunity for us, because the grass is always greener somewhere until you find out why it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my opportunity for her. She came here with her dad, put in a petition, and then being an adult, she just decided to help us. And then that's how we came over legally, very documented. So some of all the problems and some of all the opportunity. I am one who have a little of the opportunity.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm happy that we have a little of both sides where the parents did the filing and then the children also did the filing. So it's not just the one way. Now, as it relates to the pandemic, we know that a lot of people are in limbo or on hold right now from the little news that I've read here or heard there. For example, those who were supposed to be sworn in as citizens, that may have been delayed. Am I correct or not, lawyers?
Yes.
Well, yeah, to an extent, but they are scheduling a lot more sworn ceremonies. So it depends. So everything is opening up right now. So people just need to look out for a new date if they reschedule it.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Fanger. What we have seen, well, coming out of March, we did see where the consulates closed, our local offices here in the United States, they all shut down. This was around March 16th. So, March, April, if we were having this conversation a month, 2 months ago, I would be a woe is me, I feel bad for immigrants kind of conversation. But certainly the conversation has changed because I know a lot of the consulates, Jamaica has reopened, a lot of the consulate posts in the Caribbean have reopened. Our USCIS offices, all the offices stateside have reopened. I think what we are seeing is a delay or some kind of backlog because they're trying to clear all those appointments that were canceled. So I think, like Councillor Fanger said, you should be looking out for those notices. If we're now in September, so if it has been more than 90 days and you have not, so if you're they reopened about a month, maybe 6 weeks ago. So I would start counting 90 days. If you have not heard from the service, if anybody had an interview or an appointment that was canceled and they have not heard from the service within 90 days of the service reopening, I would go ahead and place a telephone call just to make sure that your application or your petition gets back on track. But pretty much they're having COVID swearing in ceremonies, right? Where they're
Yeah.
having where they're having social distancing. A couple of my clients experienced that. And gone are the days, Counselor Fanger can attest, where as a lawyer you could go with your client to the swearing in ceremonies. Now they're limiting the number of individuals. But definitely I think things are reopening.
And just you're saying, like I know a lot of people are saying that they have a lot of wait times when they do call in. It's easier now to just go online and just complete the forms, a few questions, and they usually respond quickly if you try
I
to do it
agree.
online. So it's better than coming and sitting for hours.
And the form that you're talking about is when they're applying for citizenship or to be sworn in.
So if you are like at a date before and you haven't, as Diani said, like you haven't heard anything in 90 days, instead of going into the service center 100 number to find out when they're going to reschedule or what's happening, you could just go online at the uscis.gov website and do an inquiry about your case. Just provide your receipt number and they will respond to you quickly. So you don't have to wait for hours because they have like extended wait times right now.
Oh, okay, okay, I see. Now, Mrs. Graham, I heard you mention that you had filed for someone. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how if the pandemic is affecting that, please?
I put in my petition for my citizenship right like a week before they closed down, and they like in they send me back tell me that they received my, they give me the receipt number, and just some notification to say that there's a delay, and I'm like, once upon a time in less than 6 weeks you just do your biometrics, and I'm like, so I am really stuck in the delay. So the lawyer was telling me that I can still send in the paper because when they open up, and I'm like, but I ain't seen nothing going on my side to say they're sending something for me to go and do my biometrics. I said as soon as they release me to say do my biometrics, then I'll submit all the different documents for my husband. So it's like a delay on my side because it's just stuck right now.
Okay, anything to add to that, Mrs. Funde? Like,
No,
I mean, she's in
I
Texas,
agree
so
with her. I know with biometrics, remember, excuse me, biometric is a very intimate process. It's where you have to go to the building. It's where you have to go in and run your fingerprints. I know what we have seen in our practice. In some cases, they are reusing biometrics. If you have taken your biometrics within the last 24 months, in some cases, not all cases, they will reuse that biometrics. But it makes sense, Evangelist Dudney. There are some delays with that. Like I said, when I spoke to the director at our Tampa field office, their priority was clearing the backlog. All those people that were originally scheduled, they want to get those people up and moving, and then they'll go on to processing the new applications.
oh, okay. All right. What is your experience with immigration cases like now during the pandemic? For this question is about Michelle and Dione.
Okay, I can go first. What I've experienced is that with the pandemic, it's kind of hard on most of the clients because you have a large majority like who lost their jobs. So even if like they intended to file a petition, so it's gonna cost money. You have the attorney's fees, you have the application fees. But when they lost their job, you have to look, it's more important to buy food, pay my rent. So then they have to put their application on hold. So usually I try to have open dialogue, which I always say communicate with me, and let me know what's happening so I could make proper arrangement. Don't just disappear. So if, usually I try to assist by saying, all right, if you can't pay, I do have a business, I do have a family, but I try to understand, like, if you're not able to pay at this moment, what I'll do for you is I'll actually stop processing, obviously, because, it's time. And then once you're back on your feet, I could restart your application, the whole process. And then, so that's helpful to some of them. Some of them with the delay, like we had the petition already, like they were either in the process of, reapplying for a work authorization, which most jobs now are really strict by saying, if you don't have the documents, you cannot work for us. We don't care. We don't care what's happening. They send a letter that is delayed. We don't care. So now those people are put in a predicament where they can't work. So it's like, it causes issues within the family because, if you're married, the spouse is like, it's a burden. You can't work, you can't contribute. So then you have like issues, domestic issues. You have like where they're taking care of family back home, they can't do that. So then you have to say, all right, I can't really do anything for you. But, like I can't, like I've had clients call me and say, can you please reimburse me funds for work that are, and I'm like, I understand what you're going through. I'm not trying to be heartless, but I can't refund you because, the work has been done. But what I could suggest, like I could make, suggestions of what they could do, but it's really hard on clients. And even for families that they have back home, they have to pause it because if they're going to concept process, they don't have the money, everything just have to be put on hold. So, it's the unification of family is delayed. People are not able to progress. So you have people that come and they have job offers and they can't take it. They want to go to school, they can't attend. Actually, a mother called me crying from Jamaica because her daughter was supposed to start school this semester and she didn't have the money to assist her daughter. So her daughter now, kind of in limbo. So yeah, it's hard.
So how does it affect schooling? You're saying like an international student? Is that what those students you're talking about, or the
Well,
students back home?
she's an international student.
Mhm.
So her mom was the one like paying her tuition here.
Okay, got you. Okay.
So the mother, although she's in Jamaica, I think it's a US employer. So she lost, so she can afford. So the daughter is kind of in limbo because she can't really work because they're processing nothing. And she had, like when you could work after a year. So she can work, so she can go to school because she can assist her mother and her mother can pay. So she's debating, should I go back to Jamaica? Because obviously it's going to be a violation of her status if she
Right.
stays here.
Oh,
And she don't really have any option. And she doesn't want to go back home because she left Jamaica like 3 years ago.
Hmm.
I know when you're here with all your friends, you don't want to go home. So it's
And how is
very,
that with the opportunities here too and the resources that are here, irrespective of the pandemic now, it makes you wonder. I mean, in Jamaica, what is there to go back to? Sometimes depending on your lifestyle that you had back there as well. Yeah.
yes, true. But as I said, sometimes you just have to swallow your pride. So I'm from the country. So just swallow it, understand what's going happening. You have to put things into perspective. You can't look
yeah.
at it, oh, it's, life and hanging out. You have to look at the impact on your status. If you mess up your status, it affects you, getting any other status really. So the best option, you just have to think with your brain, go home, relax for a few months, sort it out, and then come back. It's
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah. And Mrs. Diani, I need to hear from you as it relates to.
I practice both here and in Jamaica, and I won't repeat how it has affected immigrants here in the United States. The pandemic, I feel like we had two pandemics, and I'm sure we're going to talk about the politics of immigration later on because that was another pandemic in and of itself, which preceded the coronavirus in March. So there was a lot going
Hmm.
on with
That
there was
part.
a there was a lot going on with immigration prior to COVID, right? So
Okay.
I know a lot of our J1 students, those are our summer work study students that used to come to Jamaica. They attend UWI, they attend all those universities in Jamaica, and they would come here for the summer, whether it's here, Texas, wherever they go, and then make a little bit of money so they can pay their tuition back home. What we saw happened in March, April, a lot of these students had taken out loans in Jamaica to pay the agency. And I'm talking about hundreds and thousands of Jamaican dollars because they knew that once they arrived in the United States, they would spend the summer here, work hard, save their little money, and go back home. What we saw leading up to right after Corona was all these summer work study programs were shut down by the president. And he said that was based in large part on protecting the American workforce.
Right. I
So
remember that.
these students were out of money that they borrowed, right? They borrowed this money, paid the agency, and I got caught up in it because I was trying to look at these agency contracts to see what, if anything, some of the money the students could really get back. And these contracts were tight, really tight. Um, so they were affected. So a lot of them are not able to go back to UWI this fall because they didn't get to come for the summer and that work that little bit of money. So we can blame the politics of immigration or we can blame Corona. I don't know where the blame lies, but it lies somewhere in there. So that's how I see immigrants are being affected. And I always, whenever I get a platform like this, I remind my immigrant community to make their immigration status a priority. All too often, I see my community not wanting to pay for the good lawyer,
Uh-huh.
not wanting to put a lot of resources into into making sure their status is good. I see them having a green card for 13 years, Nobody American enough have no green card for 13 years. It no goes on no more. Because you can't be deported. You can't help mom, you cannot help daddy.
Which,
I talk about my stories and why I became a lawyer. I remember when I came here, my mom took me to go meet the lawyer that had done our paperwork. And it blew my mind the amount of money my mother, who was walking dogs in Manhattan, cleaning houses in Manhattan, she was a domestic helper. She was not a highly educated woman by any means. Um, but I was so impressed with how this woman found the best lawyer in New York City to handle her paperwork. I was so impressed. So I think with our community, I think we have to take that route. I know Corona has caused a lot of upheaval. Not everybody have the resources anymore. But I'm just saying you have to make especially if you decide to live in this country and call this country home and you want to help others to immigrate, you have to make your immigration status a priority. I know, like I've had clients for years, I'm telling them to naturalize. And when they want naturalize, when them ears a fear go up, then
Oh,
them bother you call your phone every day. Submit my application because they're waiting. They're waiting. And I'm not saying the Jamaican community, I'm saying the immigrant community. So I don't want people to say me I talk about Jamaican. Me I lump everybody in at the same box. You cannot wait for emergencies to start putting out the fire.
True.
You have to put out the fire when you have water. You don't wait
And
till the drought to put out the fire. Go ahead, Evangelist.
you said something. I hail from a little town in Texas, and prior to the lawyer that did my daughter's case was a wonderful lawyer, but he retired. So after I was the last case he did in retirement. And when I ready to go, and so that stick with me. When I ready to do my husband paper, two years after, and we were looking for lawyers, and because I'm in Killeen, Fort Wood, and we somebody tell us we Google some, we look at some, we found this one what you call this Vietnamese lawyer, and I said, okay, I want to put in my husband paper, and she said, give me or if you put in your husband paper now, it's not gonna ready until 5 years time waiting for your citizenship because you have a green card now. And I said to my husband, she's not telling the truth. I said, I can put in your, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And his friend keep telling to him, said, yes, or in Florida. So I said to him, say, every state has their own different little thing going on, but all immigration status are the same. I said, that might the lawyer tell me before he was going to retirement. Say all immigration status are the same, but every state have their own thing. And I said, she's not telling the truth. I can put it. I said, she wanted something out of me, so she wanted me. I said, I am a Jamaican and she's not getting my money because she told me to put the paperwork now, and it's 5 years when you get your citizenship before he can get. Okay, after everything blow, but we couldn't find anybody. And a lady friend of mine introduced me to somebody in New York who do Jamaican status also. And when I found him like a couple months ago, he said, who told you that?
Mm.
And I was like, oh my God, as I've been sitting there in this country, listen to what these people said. And when I hooked up with this lawyer back over in New York now, and she said, he do cases all over, so he can do your case. He's in New York. Because I'm like, if I had to pay my money out of state, I would, because I needed somebody to. And he said, who told you that you couldn't do this on your green card? And I'm like, the lady, the lawyer. So sometimes
um,
we fall into this situation where other councils tell us, but
Different
I
thing.
don't know where get different. But sometimes they don't take everything from everybody, and I'm like, I learned to make Google my best friend right now.
okay. Just something. Not that your lawyer is wrong, but just this, the first lawyer, the Vietnamese lawyer, she's technically accurate if you had a green card and were petitioning for your husband. It does take a longer period of time than if you had your citizenship. So that is actually accurate.
But
But you could
counselor,
submit.
I never
You
tell
can't
clients
submit
to
it.
wait. I always say
Yeah,
let's submit because you
submit
never
it.
know what's going to happen. I've had
Yeah,
people because sometimes because remember green card is numerically based, right?
yeah.
So when you have a green card filing for a green card, sometimes that goes faster than when a citizen files because it all depends on that country's allotment for the year. I've had
Okay.
like
Yeah.
countries like Costa Rica, some of my South American countries, my green card petition goes faster than my citizen immediate relative
Yeah.
petitions. So it
Wow.
all depends. I never have
Yeah, it depends
clients
on the
wait
country.
because
Yeah,
of the
that's true. So
country
I think she was maybe looking at your country and
and
looking
say
at
it
the
would take too
process.
long,
But I
which is
usually
not
tell a
long.
client that the time frame will be a little longer, but I do submit it. But I just tell them, like, like they will say, "Oh, why am I not hearing anything?" Kind of somebody in the community will be telling them, "Oh, you should have heard
They
something
get
long
through long
time."
time.
Yeah, we get, and everybody's story always different. So I always
Yeah.
tell people, do not listen to anybody, 'cause people not telling you exactly what's happening. So that's why I say, like, she's technically right. Maybe that's what she was looking at. That's what's her strategy. But she wasn't wrong. But I usually
Right.
submit it, but just explain to them, like, it will take,
A
maybe
little time.
yeah.
Is there
But
anything else you want to edify based on what you were saying, Mrs. Diani? Because I was listening. Is there anything else you want to continue to expound on based on what you were explaining earlier?
No, I was just saying I agree with the
No,
evangelist that
before Mrs. Carlene, because you were edifying us on some information there as it relates to, like, the immigration statuses on, like, some of the students
the Jays that were
the
affected.
J's, right,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
citizenship
Hmm.
versus green card.
Yeah, so definitely. So I was doing the flip side of immigrants that were affected. Um, and I was talking about our Jays that, our summer work study program, they were affected as well. A lot of our employment based were affected because there's now a restriction on them leading up to, correct me, Councillor Fanger, I think it's December 31st. The president is going
yeah,
to revisit those
yeah,
restrictions, right? So
yeah. That's
I am still filing those petitions, and it goes back to what the evangelist says. Even if there's a restriction on a category, even countries like Nigeria that have their restrictions on travel, I am still filing those petitions because on December 31st, what will happen is something will happen. And I want to make sure
yeah,
my clients, if there's anything that's retroactive, that my clients are protected. So if the president comes out and say we're only dealing with people who filed between this time period, I want to make sure that my clients are protected. They can say, I have my petition, I have my priority date, I have my receipt notice, and I have a receipt number to help me just in case.
Okay. So any other information that as it relates to probably people who are getting married now and then wanting to file after, and right now what's going on with those kind of cases?
well, the major thing I could say to married couple, because I just did a few, where now they have changed the requirement, the public charge rule, where people have to establish that they're not going to be a burden on the government. They could provide for themselves, take care of themselves. Well, this rule existed a long time ago. The
Right.
thing is that it's always there. What Trump is doing is looking for those rules that were not really enforced to try to enforce them to restrict the amount of immigrants coming into this country and restrict the amount of people. So when you see with spouse, now you're looking for, they have to have like their credit report, they have to provide their education, they
Assets.
have skills, assets, they have to provide a lot more information, because what they're trying to do is to look if they are fit enough to be here in the United States. They look at their health. So they look to see whether you have health insurance. So it's not like they're looking at one thing and saying, okay, they're gonna say you have assets. They look at the whole package to see what you're offering. So it is tedious now because we're requiring more information from the individual that's gonna adjust. So to us, especially to me, like I'll have clients say, why do you want all this information?
Why do you need my credit report?
Exactly.
I get that a lot.
I'm like, I don't want it. It's not me. I don't care.
I don't care about your credit history.
Exactly. But the only thing I could do is to put you in the best position that your application will get approved. So either you provide that information to me upfront where I submit it, or if they're gonna, usually if you don't provide it, what they'll do is they'll ask you to provide the information at a later date. They'll send a letter in the mail and say, we need this information. You have X amount of time to submit it to us. And I'm gonna say to you, like, if I have to do that, you're gonna have to pay additional money, because that's not my fault why we don't have that information upfront. So it's gonna cost you more. So I just always say, just provide that information. It's not us. The government is a headache, not only to you, but to us attorneys, because everything is changing. And you hear people say, but years ago, me do an application and this never, I have like, it has changed. And the thing is that people keep listening to people in their community that will say to them, oh, I know somebody that did it this way and they got approved. No, time has changed. And as Diani says, speak to an attorney, because if you do submit that application with a lot of errors, you are potentially
Rejection.
exactly. And then it's a whole new process. Are you, if they figure out and say, oh, it's a fraud, more likely it's not a fraud, but because you listen to somebody provide incorrect information, you mess up your application. So what I'm saying is that always talk to somebody that's learned in that area, because things are changing daily and the attorneys are more aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
And they're more quick to fix the issue upfront and could tell you what the potential issue is going to be and correct it. So you have an application that is submitted that more than likely will be approved. We cannot guarantee approval, obviously, but we'll do the best. And if you keep talking, we call them bush lawyer. I'm from Chilani, so we call them bush.
Yeah, my banana.
Yeah, well, so they know everything. And then you have some notary, they call them notary. Like, these people are not attorneys. What they do is complete applications. And when they complete this application for people in their communities, like even if it's incorrect, it's submitted and you sign off on those documents. You can't say to them, I mean, USCIS, and say, oh, I didn't tell them that information. They did it. They don't care about that. You submit it, you swear to it, that is accurate information. So that's why you have to be careful who is completing these forms. So that's why I always say, as I said before, it's best to use an attorney. It's best to do what's necessary to do an attorney, because in the end, it will only benefit you and cost you less.
So,
And as for spouse, it's just a lot more information, a lot more requirements.
okay. So what are some of the changes? I heard you mention like if there's an error on it. And I mean, from my own experience, there are lawyers and there are lawyers. So
True.
choose the best lawyers,
Right.
especially now. What are some of the real changes as it relates? And if you could go a little bit more in depth on the mistakes, that part that you're saying is going to be rejected, Mrs. Funde.
I'm gonna put mistakes in two categories.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna open a basket, evangelist help me, is called a lie. So in the left hand is the lie that you're gonna claim is a mistake, and in the right hand, and I'm gonna call this lie fraud or misrepresentation.
Mm-hmm.
And on this right hand, I'm gonna call it data entry, honest mistake, an error. So instead of September 3rd, 1999, you put March 9th. Those are little mistakes that can be fixed. What the service will do, if you submit an application with a lot of errors or omitted material information, they'll give you at least one opportunity to fix it. So maybe you forgot a form. You didn't submit the I-130A because you're doing an adjustment of status. It's a lot of forms, a lot of documents. So maybe inadvertently you left out. So say for you left out two forms. You left out the I-130A and you left out the I-944 because the Bush lawyer doesn't know about public charge rule and didn't include it. The service may send your application back to you one time to fix it.
Okay.
One time, and they might send you and tell you, this doesn't meet the requirement, and they'll send you a nice little letter and they'll give you one opportunity to resubmit before they take all your money. So the Bush lawyer you go to submits the 130A but leaves a 944. When you send that application back, it will be rejected, gone. The service is not going to they're not going to play that game with you where they're not your lawyer. So they're not going to give you 1, 2, 3 opportunities to fix it. Even as an attorney, I'm not gonna lie, my application gets sent back sometimes, but only one time. The other day I sent a naturalization application off, and don't you know, I forgot the client's signature. Not forgot it. My staff didn't put the signature page in the application, because now it's COVID. We're not meeting with clients. So they mail us their signature pages, and my staff just did not insert. And it got back. I literally open it, look at it. Okay, stick it back in and sent it back. Crisis averted. No panic. Everything is fine. So that's one set of problems where it's honest mistake. It's not too bad. The other set of problems are those fraud and misrepresentations, where the service smells something. There's something about your application that is not sitting right with the service. Whether it is in the paper itself, whether it's that marriage document, whether it's the divorce decree, but something is not sitting right. The service will always send it back and say, they'll give you one opportunity to fix it. That is when you know if your hands are dirty, do not send that application back. And I also see that with some of my VAWA applications, where they go to the bush lawyer, and the bush lawyer makes up a story, makes up an application, and the service sends it back to you and starts asking all these questions. That is a time where you burn the application and not send it back, because I think what the service is doing is giving you an opportunity to put the nail into your coffin.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. So that's why I said there are two kinds. There's the one where, well, the bush lawyer filled this out. I wasn't sure. I signed it. I got a work authorization, but I'm not really married to somebody who's abusing me type of case. And then you have over here where, you know what, I didn't translate my birth certificate.
Yeah.
Things of that sort. Another area where I see the service cracking down, and I don't know if you've seen this, counselor, is at the interview for adjustment of status or some kind of changing of status. They're going all the way back to if you came in on a visitor's visa.
Yep.
They are pulling that baby out. They're pulling out the application that you applied for your visitor's visa.
Yeah. I have a joke when you finish.
They are pulling them out.
So what are they doing?
God.
Matching information?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, they are. I
So
have a joke.
this is new. I've seen this in the last maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
This is not.
It's new.
It's new.
I have to laugh because I had this funny one when I went to the adjustment interview. My client actually came and went to New Jersey. It was for Virginia. That she said she lived in Virginia. We did everything from Virginia. I did not know this girl traveled to New Jersey. Her first trip from Guyana, she went to New Jersey. She hung out with friends in New Jersey. That friend and her traveled to Virginia. Met this guy. Then the friend, I don't know what happened. When we in the interview, only to find out that the guy used to talk to the friend. And how they connected it was that she said her friend, like, she just met him online. Nobody knew this guy, like, just met him. But they connected her friend and her traveling and her visiting that friend to realize that it was a fraud. So when we went in, they just separated them. And I was there sitting like, what is happening?
And there's nothing you can do.
We can't do anything as attorney.
Because you weren't honest with me.
Exactly. That's what I said to her. I knew nothing. I didn't know. But they watched you. And also I have clients before where they, even from Jamaica, where like the baby father, like the girl got married to someone else and the baby father, and she's traveling back and forth on flights with the baby father. And when she went into her interview, they brought that up.
Yes.
And like I'm saying, everything is changing and people's visas are actually getting revoked for traveling with certain people. Yeah.
Revoked. They're going, so you'll walk into an adjustment interview where everything is kosher. Meaning you have good documents, good interview, and you walk in and that interview the officer doesn't even look at that. They go back to the DS-160, that application for that B1, B2 visa, where client A says, I am married, or I used to work at this place in Jamaica.
Okay.
Or I used to work at this place in India, and on their adjustment of status application, when they ask about work history, there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing about that.
Yeah.
There's
They look
nothing
back at it.
about that. So that is what I call the fraud and
Yeah.
misrepresentation bundle. And there are ways around that. Be honest with your attorney so we know
Yep.
going in how to
Yeah.
position you. That means you don't
Yeah.
continue the fraud, because that officer is
Yeah.
going to ask you that question 1, 2, or 3 times and have you initial it. Like,
Yeah.
initial right here for me, because what they're doing is have you commit fraud.
Exactly.
And
And what
then
they did to that client in Virginia is actually after a few weeks, they went out to the house.
to
They
visit.
actually did a home visit to
Mhm.
see if she actually lived at the house. And at that time, she went to New Jersey again. So it was an issue. And
So
another
they are
thing while
getting
Diani was
serious.
talking is like in some states in New York, I mean the US, they don't recognize common law. But I saw in 2 cases where they stated on their visa application that they had a common law relationship, and they used it against them to say that they were actually married
Yes.
and they
Even
were
Jamaica,
committing, yeah.
they do it
So be
with
careful.
Jamaica. They do it with
Yeah,
Jamaica too, where you've said you're in a common law marriage, and all of a sudden you're marrying somebody in the United States. So I
Mm.
think you got to kiss a stone and throw it behind you and say you're divorced from
yeah.
the common law
Or just
marriage
not say
before you
you
can
have,
move on.
and if you're not married, just don't, like literally on paper, don't say it because
Don't
it will
say you're
come back
married.
to
It'll come
haunt
back to haunt you.
you. Yeah.
Wow.
These
So
viewers
much
are
information.
Yeah, I hope the viewers are listening and taking notes because I'm learning a lot here. And I mean, these are some things that, yes, may be honest mistakes, like
Hmm.
Sunday says, some are just blatant lying because
Yeah.
some people, for real, they would say that they are married and then the person live 2 different places and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They may think that they got away with it then, but for now, people who are about to do, they have to just be careful and just speak the truth and just be on the right side of the
Yeah.
law.
Yeah.
And just let your, if it's not fraud, 'cause obviously as attorneys, we're not supporting fraud. But if you explain to us what is happening, sometimes there's a logical explanation that could be explained,
Exactly.
which
Okay.
they will understand. But if
I
you're
see.
being
I
deceptive,
agree. I agree, because if I have like somebody living in a rural state and
yeah,
they tell me they have to go to New York and work,
yeah,
I get it, because most rural states want proof of
yeah,
employment. Whereas I know in New York, they can get a little babysitting job, they can get a
exactly.
little nursing job or something to take care of maybe an elderly person. But you have to let us know this. Don't let the first time I find out that you're
Yeah,
living
it's in an
3 states
interview.
away is in the, because guess what? I'm just gonna sit there quiet, because
Yeah, I'm like
I'm not putting my license, I'm not
on
putting
the
my life
line.
on the line. So I think you just be candid and honest with your attorney, because that, and don't be too honest, because I'm not going to help you commit fraud. So if you're too
Exactly.
honest, I might not be able to take your case.
Yeah,
But I think you want to tell us, like, Miss Funde, say I live in Wisconsin, what me work in New York and come home once a month. I get it,
yeah,
because I know you can work in New York and make a little bit more money
yeah.
until you get the little papers. So we get that.
Yeah, and not only that, in every aspect, because I know like my last adjustment that I did a week ago, which I at the beginning of the whole process, the husband was not here, but what I did, well, he came after. So the wife contracted me, but she was married 5 times before, but she
Oh.
didn't want her husband to know. So, but I did submit everything, though, and then before the interview, she was really nervous because the husband does not know. So I'm like,
Mm.
they're gonna ask in the interview. I can't tell them don't ask you that question, but you have to be honest with your spouse so he's aware. So sometimes people are deceptive and they expect us as attorney to, keep that
Hold a
deception.
secret. Hmm.
And then we can't go into, and they think we have the power to tell when they're doing their interview to say, oh no, you can't ask that
We
question.
cannot do
If
True.
it's
that.
not a clear fact, we can. We just cannot.
I
So
must say,
like,
that even with putting in my paperwork and my citizenship, some question that the lawyer was asking me, like, do I have to go for my first husband? wife,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm gonna find that man and rip his gallbladder out because I'm married never to divorce. And now I have to be asking questions that's gonna follow me all the days of my life. And I'm like, I have to be answering, how old is your husband, wife that he was married to? I'm like, oh, I said, all of this information. So I'm like,
So
Yeah,
what
they
it's,
if
have
you,
to.
right,
And
what if
even
you
when it
don't
comes to
know?
children,
What
I'm
if you
sorry?
don't know? Like for example, Carlene is saying that information that has been probably from Wappy Kill fill up for so long and you don't remember some of these information. What does a
you
crime
have to,
I
investigation look
just usually say, right, I don't know, unknown.
Or to the
Don't lie.
best. And
Yeah,
the officer will be able to tell your
yeah,
credibility. These officers are trained,
yeah,
so they'll know whether it's lack of memory. Like if,
yeah,
like a grandma can say, um, it was about 1980 something, that's
yeah,
different from just omitting everything altogether.
yeah. But if you
Um,
tell them, I don't know, they'll understand.
they'll understand if you don't remember the dates
Yeah,
but and the officers will, your interview will also test your credibility,
yeah. And
right?
then you
So it
never know too.
depends.
Yeah, I always say be honest because you never know. Because at any point they could split you guys up. That person in one room saying one thing, you're in one room saying another thing, and they match up the information. So I always say just be honest. If you don't know, if they ask you how many children my husband have and you don't know, just say,
Just say you don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I've met three. I've
Yeah,
met
yeah,
two.
just said. And
Don't make up a
only talk
number.
about John. And another thing too, like I've noticed with a lot of the guys, they have children that they don't list on their applications, and years later they want to petition for that child. The
Oh,
thing is that USCIS is gonna look back
Mm-hmm.
and to look at the names of your children. So even if you suspect, even if a jacket, as they call it,
mhm.
still list the name, because you never know if you intend in the
okay.
yeah, still list the name. Anybody you suspect, like it might be my child. But don't neglect to put names. Some people neglect to put it because they don't want the person to think ill of them.
Yeah.
But I
You
always
want to
say,
fight,
just be honest.
you want to
Mm-hmm.
fight for you and your 10 children them.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a question from a viewer, and this is for the
Um,
live. Which you have a question, Talisa?
no, I was saying I have to go, and I'm sorry, but I'll watch the video after you post it. But I have to.
Thank you so much
That's
for
me.
Do
joining
you have
us,
any
beautiful
questions
young
before you go?
lady.
Do you have any
Thank you for
questions before
joining
you
us.
go?
No, they're actually their points were very clear, so I'm sure the viewers understand because I understood very clearly, and the conversation is very interesting. But I have to.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us on a Friday evening.
Bye.
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 I love you. Okay, so viewers asking if they submit the application while they were a green card holder, if afterwards they become a citizen, if they can upgrade, change the category.
Yeah, they just need to
Yes.
send the document over to USCIS.
Which is why I always recommend individuals to go ahead,
Hmm.
because what that does, it helps speed up the process too, because
Yeah,
you would have retained your priority date. So in the case of the evangelist, if she had filed years ago when she
then,
was a green
yeah,
card holder, the moment she becomes a citizen, she just notifies immigration and they'll change her category
yeah, category.
from spouse of a green card holder to that of an immediate relative. And the priority date, no, that I know for a fact the priority date would have been current
Yeah, will be correct.
Okay.
because of
Yeah.
That's
that
true.
waiting time. So I
Mhm.
Yeah.
use that all the time, especially when one spouse is here undocumented
Hmm.
and they don't want to go home on a waiver. And
Yeah.
so what I do, I file the I-130, so that is being processed. And the moment the other person becomes naturalized, then we update
Yeah,
the file and
submitted.
we're able to adjust in a much shorter time frame.
So you're saying that if you file for someone with a wife or husband now and they're here, like they came here on a regular visa, and you file for them here, I know there's something called a waiver. So you're saying that they could stay here and do the process?
So, Michelle, you want me to take this one or you take it?
Yeah, good say that one.
All right. So it depends. So if in the case of the evangelist, can I keep using you? All right. If so, she's a green card holder, and her husband had entered the United States lawfully. So he came into the United States lawfully. However, he overstayed. So he got 6 months, 5 months, 4 months. He did not depart. So he's now gone undocumented. The fact that his wife, the evangelist, is a green card holder, he cannot change his status or do his paperwork within the United States. He would have to depart on a waiver. And that waiver is for unlawful presence, meaning we do a whole heap of paperwork to ask for forgiveness, to show the hardship to the evangelist. And you ever hear people say, I'm gonna call it them paper?
Mhm.
That's pretty much what it means. They're not just, they don't jump on a flight and go.
Oh,
They wait for their waiver to be processed. It's called a stateside waiver because
here.
we do the
Oh.
waiver here in the States.
Mhm.
When we get the approval, then they can depart to Jamaica, depart to Costa Rica, depart to Guatemala, depart to wherever to be processed
Mexico.
at their Mexico, anywhere to be processed. The benefit is when they get there, since 2013, before 2013, there was not the stateside process. They would have to wait 3 or 10 years overseas. Remember, we used to say people come home and can't come back?
Right.
Mhm.
Yes,
That's
yeah, well.
why. But under the Obama administration in 2013, he did it as a stateside waiver so we can file. You wait for it to be processed here and you go home.
So I have a
The trick
question.
to that, go ahead.
No, continue. Go
The
ahead.
trick to that, the only thing that waiver is good for is unlawful presence. So if the evangelist husband leaves here to go home to Jamaica to be processed, and he gets there and we find out there's some criminal charges or things that he didn't tell us about, that waiver cannot save him. Sometimes you hear people say, Lord, the lawyer send me home and I can't come back. Yeah, you never tell me about the drug charge or the gun charge we didn't have. Though
Mhm.
that is a whole different conversation.
Wow.
This waiver is only for unlawful presence, and then they can depart on it and come back. Compare that to if the evangelist is a citizen, her husband entered on on a visa or entered lawfully, then he'll be able to do the entire process within the United States.
So let me just get this right. So let's say like how she started out now as a green card holder to start the process, and he's here, but the documents are still in processing per se. And then let's say a year or less after she becomes a citizen, while the documents were still in immigration being processed or in the queue per se, at that time he still can stay here once she has become a citizen, even though she started the process as a green card holder, correct?
Yes, he can stay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now another question I want to ask you, counselor, is that how you consider the title?
Dion is fine.
Dion. Okay. Is what about those U visas? Like I know there was a waiver back then in like prior to 2013 where you would do a waiver for the same if they got 6 months or however long in the country then, which 6 months was the cutoff, and they overstayed. There was a waiver that you could have done and they stayed right here and did the process without going back
I
home.
think for U visa categories, it's a little different.
Okay.
So I don't want to confuse it too. With U visas, it's a little different for those individuals. U visas and asylums and VAWA, they carry some different, because those are the humanitarian classifications. So a
Mhm.
lot of the rules that
Yeah,
apply to the
humanitarian.
evangelist and her husband would not apply to individuals that are in those
Yeah.
categories.
So can you expound a little on that? Because someone was asking a question like if they were a VAWA candidate or U visa candidate and they have already applied for status per se and still waiting. How, what's as the pandemic is affecting certain statuses now, how is that affecting that right now?
Counselor, you want to go? Because I don't want to keep taking over, but I can.
But the only thing that I know of and I work the visa that I see is just a delay in the processing of those applications. Everything is still as is. It's just that they are delayed right now. So the only thing is that we could say is just hold tight and wait. I know that they made some recent changes for the some asylum applications, but I haven't done any recently, so I'm not too familiar with. But I think they're changing to work authorization while it's pending. But I think you'll have to wait. But no, everything is as is. It's just that there's a delay in my practice that I've seen and made at work. It's just that there is a delay.
All right, and I can add to that. So when we think about the humanitarian visas like U's and VAWAs, there's a finite amount. 10,000 new visas are allotted annually. So imagine how many people are vying for those categories. So it's not like, and that's why they give us what they call a prima facie determination, meaning your case looks good, you can get a work authorization, but we have no visa available. And what
Oh,
they do is each year they roll you. They keep rolling you. They keep rolling you until a visa becomes available. So it's not like this unlimited. For example, if the evangelist had a citizen married to another person and the visa is available, and we do call a green card a visa. I know people confuse it too. It is a visa, right?
yeah.
So there's no green card available for the evangelist if she were a citizen married to um, her husband. The only thing that slows her down is processing time, meaning there's no other delay, but meaning just the time for them to take care of the paperwork. For our
Okay.
humanitarian visas or U visas, there's a finite amount that is given annually. And if them run out, them run out. As it pertains to asylum applications, for everybody filing after August 25th, so prior to August 25th of 2020, if you arrived in the United States and you have a well-founded fear of persecution, meaning if I go back on me yard, they're gonna kill me, you had 12 months in which to make that claim. All right. If you made your claim a year at the 13-month mark, you were still able to apply for work authorization under that asylum application, which people do rely on because remember, again, asylum applications take forever and a day now to be processed.
Wow.
What the president's rule had said, and normally all you have to do is wait 180 days. So if you file for asylum on October 1st, the service has 6 months to process your application. If they fail to do so, 180 days, 6 months, you can apply for work authorization. Now the president wants you to wait 365 days before you can apply for work authorization.
Mm.
He's also implemented a last in, first out, meaning for all those people that file within the last year or two, their applications will be processed earlier. What does that mean? No work authorization, fast track to removal.
Mm.
Because
What?
we know 97% of asylum applications are denied.
Yep.
So
Or
you're
more.
walking out of your asylum. I can count on my hand how many approved asylum applications I have, and I can have fingers left over.
Wow.
Okay. So 97% are denied. I've had asylum applications with dead bodies that were denied. Right. So now the president has said fast track the last in, first out, fast track everybody, denied, put them in removal, send them home.
So technically, they're saying we're not giving you no status.
There's none. That's why we have 100,000 people waiting at our border in Mexico.
Yeah, that's why they're doing it outside of the country
That's
now.
why they're processing these. They're not even letting you in anymore either. We have now wait at the border. So if you've made your way up through South America to the border of Mexico and the United States, and you knock on the door, we call it knocking on the door, trying to come in for
Yeah.
humanitarian reasons, they're gonna give you a little number, a little bus ticket, turn you around and tell you to wait in Mexico. And I think there's a caravan that's leaving Honduras trying to head towards our borders
Oh,
again.
another one?
Another caravan, yes.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So
I thought they changed course.
no, I think it leads
No,
to
no,
so
just
many other
because of
things.
the prior one. You know, like how he's stopping everybody. I know he's changing everything. I thought that,
No,
they were
they're still
going.
coming.
Wow, so these are things that people who are about to vote needs to take into consideration. I'm sorry, but I had to say, guys, I hope you are listening. These are
Yeah,
some
and
valuable information. Don't
And
let it
another
slide.
thing, just to piggyback on that, which I see, and I was a little disturbed the other day when somebody contacted me about it, in which people, they are not attorneys, they're promising people that they could do these asylum cases, which
Wow.
oftentimes they do not meet the requirement, they do not qualify for. But they will take their money and say they're waiting on it to be processed. They have no case, they have no claim, and they're paying these monies. And that's the thing. That's why I say you have to be careful who you hire and ensure it's an attorney and ensure it's an attorney that has their best interests at heart.
So
Because the
true.
thing is that these people pay all this money with no end results, and they're guaranteeing them that they will be successful.
Wow.
So people have to be mindful. Because if you don't qualify, you just don't qualify. So you just have to be mindful. And if you don't want to hire, do a little research yourself to figure out if you do qualify. And some countries, I know that have clients from Haiti, like, oh my God, like the family, you see, they killed the entire family. You would have
Mm-hmm.
said, oh, this person definitely. They
Denied.
said, no, it's a common thing in Haiti. It's just the
And
life.
no, and they're denied. Yeah,
And they're denied.
okay, because they're killing everybody
Exactly.
in Haiti. What's so special about you? There's
Jamaica,
nothing special about you. That's how
exactly.
they are.
The same
Most
thing
of
with
these,
Jamaica too. And then
most of
people are
these,
telling them, oh
yeah,
yeah, you could definitely get this
the work
asylum. No,
authorization,
like,
because a lot of them are
yeah,
doing it for the work authorization, where they just file the asylum application. You get a
yeah,
work authorization, and then you work for 2, 3, 4 years and pray in the meantime.
Hmm.
So a question I
exactly.
have to
That's
ask,
something happened.
I heard over the news, and I just want to ask you, attorneys, I'm going back to where we started for students. You know how some schools here are doing virtual classes because they've not opened up, or they may, for whatever reason, the only option is virtual. How is that affecting international students, please?
Well, the government did first that decision. So they're allowed to attend school. That's what you're asking. And it
Well, from what I
shouldn't
heard
have
is
any
that if
impact
it's
on.
virtual classes, they're sending them back home. So I want to know if that's true as it relates to immigration, because I heard that in the news
No, they
actually.
reversed it. They reversed it.
Oh, they reversed.
It was
They
Okay.
reversed.
reversed that. Yeah, it was so everything is as is. The good thing is that for each time the administration changes something, there's always a group to challenge it. So once it's been challenged, then everything is put on hold, on pause. For instance, they were supposed to increase the fees.
Today.
Everybody was rushing to get these applications out. Then you look, bam, there's a case, put it on hold. Even the public charge rule, they had this rule that went into effect in February. Then you had people challenging how you do
It was
have
off.
organizations that are looking out for the interests of immigrants, and they will go to court for the immigrants. There are people here fighting for immigrants. And so each time he's attempting to do anything, it's a battle and they try to look out for immigrants. So that's why I always said, as Diani said earlier, like continue
You're
the
going in
process
and
because
out,
things
Michelle. You're
will
going in and
change.
out. Sorry.
Okay. Are you hearing me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
clear and loud.
Okay, so I'm saying like with everything, as Diani said earlier, like you will have these applications. I usually also do go ahead and submit it because things do change consistently. So and attorneys do keep abreast of these information because as soon as something comes out, like if with deportation, if something is sent from the courts, we review it immediately to see if it's beneficial to our clients. So we
And
know
then
what's happening.
we text each other and say, how are you interpreting
Yes.
this? Is this rule?
Yeah.
How are you still submitting? So that's the network that we have, where
Yeah.
I don't have to rely on myself like
Okay.
some of these bush lawyers, attorney Fanger
Yeah.
call them. We actually communicate with each other and say, what are you seeing? How are they interviewing? What questions were asked? What are some of the changes? And then we use this to go into battle. So we have inside information when we take on a case.
Yeah.
Diane said something earlier on when she mentioned, and that stuck in my mind when you talk about or your mom spend her money for a good lawyer. Because I remember that my daughter did that for me, and when I was looking about my citizenship with the paperwork, family member was saying, "Oh, it's easy, do it yourself."
Do it
I said,
yourself.
"Okay." I said, "Okay, y'all help me doing it." So one have any time. Oh, the printer, oh, the computer, the internet. I said, that's the reason why I'm going to spend my money, because you're going to tell me that you're going to do it. I said, I'm not waiting on your time. I want you to help me to do it now. I said, okay. I called my eldest daughter. She said, Mommy, it was money that put you your first paper. So let money put you your second paper. And I said, okay. I said, I have no problem paying the money, but if y'all say you can help me, why are you giving me a runaround and telling me you ain't got no time? So it is really important, because I am a victim of it, where everybody say they're gonna help and everybody say they do it and everybody say it's easy. But when it comes around, they're telling me where to go. I said, and where do you find that?
Oh,
So I said, I pay my money and I get it. I don't have to deal with the error and the PowerPoint and all of that, because I paid my money. All I do is stay on the phone. When some information is off, help me with this because I don't understand. And I give the information across the board and
They
it was
fix it.
well emailed to me. Look over it. Tell me what did I do wrong. And I said, you work well. I paid you enough for you to do my paper.
So
I
a
agree.
So
question
that's
that
important.
another question, and this is just popping in my head. So since a lot of people has lost their job during this crisis or pandemic, and like Michelle mentioned from the get-go that some of them are hollering for some form of reimbursement, right? Now, for those who are probably starting to put through documentation now for processing, is there a way that they can get, I know that you mentioned also that fees were supposed to be raised, but is there a way that they can get some of these fees waived? Application fees, not your fee,
well,
but
yeah,
immigration.
you have where you could do a fee waiver, but the thing is that I wouldn't recommend it for my client because it might impact your case. Because if you're looking for a fee waiver, how could you prove to the government that you can provide for yourself and take care of yourself
But
or
there's
your
a
family
condition
can?
though.
But if no, but if you're going like if it's an asylum case or a VAWA case, I could do that. But if it's just a
Mhm.
regular family base or you're petitioning for someone, I do
Okay.
not recommend it
Yeah.
that you do the
And
waiver.
and
So it
and
depends, but
federal
not for
laws
family base.
federal laws as it pertains to immigration have not changed because of the pandemic. So an
Yeah.
immigrant cannot go to immigration and say it's a pandemic. A pandemic is for US citizen
Yeah.
and US green card holders. And a no. And
Exactly. And they don't care.
I'll do fee waivers for my humanitarian clients, but I second counselor's point. How are you going to prove that you're not going to become a public charge? Because the first step of the process, you're begging a blight. The first step, we're
Mhm.
at step one,
Exactly.
and you're begging a blight. So, okay, so who's going to buy food? Who's going to pay rent if you're asking the government for an immigration benefit and you're saying, I don't have any money to pay you for it? I
Yeah.
don't support, I do fee waivers for humanitarian, like my asylums, my victims of crime, those people, but I would not, and do a waiver with an attorney. How are you going to pay the attorney?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't look good. It don't look good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's always so people like even for benefits, like even to get benefits, like they say, okay, I qualify for this benefit. Somebody in my community said I could go sign up for this benefit. Like in New York, offer some
Mhm.
benefit. I said no, you cannot. You just have to hustle. You just do these, especially now when they're requiring more information. Because if you do get these benefits, now you have to provide the documentation of these benefits.
Mhm.
You have to establish that you haven't been on this benefit for at least 36 months. I
Mhm.
think 12 months to 36 months. So it's just going to delay your application and result in a denial. So some things like back in the day, what people do is they hustle, they work, they do what they have to do. That I'm not encouraging anybody to break the law work, but you just have to do. And you have the option where you could pay by credit card. So I always tell people if you don't have the funds up front, but you have a credit card
You can
with,
pay your fees
the
that way.
where you could afford to keep it and the fee, use that card, but remember not to spend the money.
So
So
how
that's
does
the only thing I would recommend.
right? How does the this affects a current green card holder who is going to be applying for citizenship as it relates to the public benefits? I
So
mean, what if
Well,
yeah.
one of the requirements with that green card is that you don't get some certain public benefits. That's one of the requirements.
But
Even
So
there's
you
but there's
even
a
if
tax.
it's single, if
Mhm.
even
Go
if it's a
ahead.
single person, whether male or female, like what
you're
are
breaking. I'm sorry,
breaking up,
you're
Michelle?
breaking. Maybe it's my thing.
I think.
It's
Can you hear
yeah.
me? Because I think Michelle is breaking up.
I'm hearing you now. Yeah, I'm breaking up. Just go ahead. I'm not sure
Okay,
what's happening.
so all right. So for as it relates to naturalization, there isn't really a public charge doctrine for, as it relates to naturalization.
Okay.
What the rule says is that for I think it's 40 quarters. So you would have worked for 40 quarters. So if you've had your green card and it's 5, 6 years later, you would have worked, paid taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly at that point, if you need some benefits, Medicare, Medicaid for some of our elderly,
Yeah,
that will
yeah,
not, that won't affect your
yeah.
naturalization
Medicaid is
application.
never.
it,
Yeah,
it doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect you. What they're looking at is you get your green card in January and by March you're on public assistance. That affects your sponsor as well because somebody would have signed a sponsorship for you to say that
Oh, yeah.
financially they would be they would be
provided.
responsible for you. So that
Yeah.
affects
Okay.
Yeah.
your
So they
sponsor.
have up to five. Yeah, I'm breaking up. So yeah, so you have to like that person. They could go after that person for whatever assistance, but with Medicaid, they won't go after you for Medicaid. But if you get public housing, if you get some,
Any
food
means
stand, like
any
if it's
means
children, U.S. citizen, they don't. If it's a U.S. citizen child, no. Like you have a young child, a U.S. They're not gonna penalize it. But if you yourself are getting these assistance, once it's medical and some other exceptions, they won't have an issue. But one of
Okay.
the requirements is that you don't go on public assistance.
But
they're
If you
looking
have
at
a
the
green card.
means.
I know in Florida here, as a green card holder, they don't give you not
They
even
don't.
Medicaid.
No
No.
means tested benefits.
Nothing.
No means tested benefits at all. Just
Yep.
stay away from that until you
I
become a
tried it.
citizen.
I tried, which I needed it, but and I mean, I've worked way over the 40, whatever, and I needed it.
Uh-huh.
They said nope.
Mhm. They want to make sure that, because one of the tests is that you can financially afford to live here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why they ask the sponsor to send in all these tax returns and all of these
Okay.
good stuff to show that
Yeah.
if you fall on hard times, that's
Sponsors.
what that agreement is.
Mm-hmm. The
It's a
sponsor is
financial
responsible for you.
obligation when
It's a
somebody
contract.
signs. It's a contract. It's a financial contract
Yeah,
between you
contract.
and the person. We have not seen a lot of enforcement. That's all it is. They
Yeah.
haven't really enforced it,
Yeah.
but it's a legal contract that says
Yeah.
you, Cleopatra, if you
But
fall
they
on
can.
hard times, your sponsor is going to step in and help.
That's why a lot of sponsors who really knows the
They don't want to
law,
do it.
they don't want to do it
Yeah,
because
they
I
don't.
needed when I needed a sponsor when I was applying for the student visa back in 2007, right? Because
Hmm.
that's how I came here as a regular visitor, and then I also upgraded my status to a F1 student back then. When I approached the person, she was a bit reluctant at first, and I had to beg her and say, you know what, I got money. Technically, like, if just in case I have money too, you understand what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
just in case, you know,
Yeah.
which was a family member
Hmm.
somewhat, and then that's how she signed
Yeah.
it. So luckily, I had money to suffice, and I knew I'm a hustler the legal
Hmm.
way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I knew how to make it, if you get what I'm saying, until I finished school. And like you said, I did the OPT for a year after,
Yeah.
where I could work and without having to go to school for that 1 year. But
Yeah. And one thing I have had, well, I had it twice. One consultation, I had one where you do have a spouse or they do get divorced, and the spouse do try to enforce that, where you say you're gonna take care of them. They do try to go through the whole divorce process to try to get the spouse to pay based on that signed document
oh,
that they will provide and take you. So people have to be mindful of that also. It is something that can be enforced. And to me, in my opinion, with how the administration is going, I think they will try to enforce it
I
more because
absolutely
they're
think so.
slowly going through the application. Like whatever rules are not being enforced
Okay.
to try to get at people. So I think people should be mindful of that.
I agree.
That's just
I
my
agree. I
opinion.
see that coming. I see that coming where it
Yeah,
will be
I see.
enforced. I see it coming.
Is there anything, do you have any questions for the attorneys, Carlene?
No, they answer my question because the last one they talk about the benefits,
Mm-hmm.
where I was like a bit like I wanted to ask, but you guys really went in and really execute when it comes to benefit. Even though I was a real Jamaican hustler from Jamaica, so coming over here, I'm a real hustler, so I don't depend on the government for anything. My daughter weaned me 3 months
Which is
after
good.
I came here. 3 months after I came here, I'm like, you ain't gonna take care of me. Uh-uh.
You'll
Yeah.
find
So
something. That's
when it
good.
comes to the benefits, I was like, no, 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 no. Once you go on something, it means that you can't manage. So, I am not going on anything. I will not go on anything. Because even when my youngest daughter, she have 2 kids here and as a immigrant, and then every time they say take this food stamp for the kids, she say, no, 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 I don't want anything for them. I don't want to put in my papers. They come and the oldest have to say, no, it has nothing to do with you. She said, every means necessary for them not to give me anything, I'm avoiding it.
Mhm.
And she have to beg her and say, it's for the kids. They are citizens. It's okay for you to take it. She said, I do not want it for them. Until after she said, okay, get consultation and let them talk to her and say it is for them. It belongs to them.
Mhm.
So it
Okay.
really helps.
So I'm going to
Yeah.
allow the attorneys to whatever other information that they may have that's pertinent that others may want to hear about, because you are more the experts than I. And just in case I missing out on anything that you may want to divulge with the public, please.
Okay. I don't mind going, but do you mind, Yanni?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay, that's one thing. One major thing that I've seen doing deportation, in that I see where I have individuals that have been here over 20 odd years. Like they've been here from their children.
Mm.
They themselves didn't try to get their citizenship. Then they got into minor issues, like in a car with a friend that have marijuana or little minor issues that add up to something major where they end up in deportation. And now they're going back home to a country that they haven't been in over 20 years. They know no one. And to me, that is a major issue where people can fix that problem before it happens. If you have a minor child that has a green card, make it a priority to try to get their citizenship. Make it a priority because you don't want to be wasting thousands of dollars later on to fight for them to stay in a country that is sending them home. Sending home to somewhere they don't know. So you don't know what kind of life they're going to have back home in Jamaica. So if you are now getting your citizenship and your children are minors, go ahead, sacrifice the money and get it done. Just look into the future of what might happen. Anything could happen because I had a client that was in college playing basketball. He was with his friends. They used somebody's credit card. He went to court. They tell him just plead guilty. It's not going to affect you. Pled guilty to petty theft. Put him in automatic deportation.
Wow.
He
But
was
why
in
would a
college
lawyer do that
doing,
though? You see,
I'm
anyway,
sorry?
I mean, that's kind of technical. Why, if a lawyer,
So that's
like,
what I'm saying. That you're breaking up. I can't hear you.
no, I was
Sorry. So
saying
that
that if a lawyer, if you go and say, because I know you are not criminal lawyers, you're more immigration, so you try to help people who
mm,
are in a bind or who are wanting to get status here as well, legally. I mean, even without a bind, so to speak. But that's one of the things I can't understand with some of these criminal lawyers, and I'm saying it loud and clear, okay? Because I've been there where they tell you this and they tell you that you explain everything to them, especially your status. You know what I'm saying? And be truthful and everything of that nature, and they still try to put you in a bind. I don't understand it. I really don't get it, to be
but
honest.
that's the thing. That's the major thing
They
you
don't
just said that
understand
they're
it
criminal
either.
attorneys.
They
They're
don't
a
understand
criminal
it either.
attorney. Yeah, so you have to get an immigration attorney So if you have a green card, if you have a visa, get an immigration attorney before you plead guilty or go to trial. They're just criminal attorneys, so they know what they're doing criminal wise, but immigration is a totally different thing. Just
Oh,
like one immigration attorney couldn't do a criminal case. So you can't really blame that attorney. You have to know within yourself that you have to consult with an immigration attorney. An immigration attorney could look at the facts and say, you know what, if they plead to this, this is what's going to
They're
happen
in
to
trouble.
them. Try
Mm.
to plead for something else or go straight to trial. So you just have to know that you have a green card, if you have a visa visiting and you get into trouble, always consult the immigration attorney along with your criminal attorney. Sometimes you do have immigration attorneys that do criminal, but you have to look at their records too, because some of
And
them just do it because,
I call, when you come across a
fine.
good one, those we call in the profession unicorns because of how rare they are.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I I don't understand criminal law. So
Mm-hmm.
if a client, if I have to do some, like pre-sentencing stuff, meaning post-conviction relief, meaning a criminal
Yeah.
lawyer botched the case back way back when, 4 years ago, and I need to fix
Mm-hmm.
it, I have an idea what I want to see,
okay.
because I have
Yeah.
an idea what will take my client out of removal proceeding. But
Okay.
I can't go into no court and talk to no judge about what
Yeah.
to do. The judge would probably throw me out. So that's what's happening with these criminal cases, is that the criminal defense attorney is doing the best thing for the client. Like I had a client, and Michelle, you can agree with this. The criminal defense attorney had the client plead to a crime that would land him 365 days, 364 days, plus there was some other community ties, meaning he was tied to the home. That's restriction
Yeah.
of movement. So that is now added to the 364 days. That's now a felony.
Wow.
That, and
Yeah.
one phone call to me, one phone call to an immigration attorney, we would say, no, 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 plead him down to like
Yeah.
125 days and make them
Mm-hmm.
give him maybe 2 months in the house. That means that
Yeah.
everything is under that 1 year, under 1 year. That was not done, and the person is now in removal. So a
Wow.
lot of times I
Yeah.
spend my time, and by the time they come to us and I have to send them back to see a criminal defense attorney, that criminal defense attorney is at 15,000, 20,000, 12,000
Yeah.
to go back and reopen this case and get it fixed. I'm glad you brought that up, because that was on my list of
Yeah.
things to
So
talk about, deportation.
yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
glad you
So
brought that up.
yes, that's a major thing I've seen because I always like feel really bad for
I
people
feel
going back
bad,
to,
especially when
but
they
they
left
can't.
Jamaica
Yeah.
when they're
12 year
five,
old,
six,
13-year old,
and
7-year
they can't
old.
even
Yeah,
talk
it's like,
patois.
come on.
They can't
I
even talk
know.
patois,
Not
and they're getting.
for a
If you hear
patois.
them patois, I'm like, you're Jamaican. You
A patois had what that even
cannot.
patois could have taught.
No, I've
So
had that.
you have to
Even,
do
yeah,
that.
I've had it.
Parents have to make it a priority.
Question.
And yeah, go ahead.
Um, what happened when you get married? Good, and going to you get your you're going to interview. You get your letter that you could get a job. Going to interview. When you go to interview, the the husband 2 to 3 times when interview he wasn't at the interview, so they have to reschedule the interview for him. And after, like, upon the last time when he went to the interview, they send a letter to say they're looking into the case, and nothing has ever gone because 3 times he missed the interview. When they go, they didn't see them. They just say they'll send a letter.
Hmm.
I think that case will be
Well,
denied.
yeah, but I'm not gonna provide like legal advice. I'm just giving general information.
Right.
Yes.
But I think more than likely they're suspecting something. 'Cause if you go and you reschedule a few times, you don't show up with that person. Kind of look like that marriage is not, a valid marriage.
They should consult with an attorney.
Yeah. So yeah,
They should
get all the
definitely
documents and
get all
yeah,
the
talk to
documents and
someone.
consult with an attorney.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Diani, anything on your list that you want to share with us, please? That is
For
important.
my visitors, my Jamaicans and my Caribbean people coming up on their visitors visa, and you're not coming here to work, you're coming here to work. Watch your trips.
Yeah.
They're watching you. Every contact you have with Border Patrol, they're gonna ask you, so Evangelist, you go Texas the last time, I know you go Florida. Wait a minute, you get 5 months vacation from your job in Jamaica? Because the last time you came, you were in Texas for 5 months. And now you're going to New York and you spent 3 months. Then you go Atlanta. They are watching you. They are watching you. For
They
all
are.
they can go, and yes, they can take your phone. I get calls all the time. Oh, they took my phone and went in it and see all the text message. You texting the person what time you're landing and they should pick you up. And yes, they can take your phone. You have little bit of rights when you're in the airport because you're not in the United States yet, you're still at the door knocking. So you
Okay.
have some rights, but that is why when we come, they can bust open with suitcase. We're not a Fourth Amendment rights lesser. They can bust open the little key and they can bust open the bag of aki because we
Yeah.
don't have that Fourth Amendment rights to privacy. And especially if you have that little visa, you should protect it because if they cancel your visa, and later on you're walking on the beach in Montego Bay and you meet somebody and they're going to marry you and file for you, that
Mhm.
is going to become a problem if
Really?
they revoke that visa. Yes,
Wow.
because
Mm.
remember, the basis of revocation will probably be fraud.
Wow.
So you might think
And
they're revoking it because, oh, them send me a work and them turn me around. People think that is so easy. You were just deported. That is
Wow.
called
yeah,
expedited removal.
yeah.
They don't look at it that way. Them just say, oh, so I come a Miami and them give me a hard
Send
time
me
and
back.
send me back. Them just deport you from the United
I
States
revoke it.
and revoked and stamped your documents, meaning
Mm.
you are now barred in
Wow.
cases
Yeah, yeah.
5 years expedited removal. And it depends what else you told them and what else your history.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going
Is,
up to
is
Canada.
Yeah.
there
You
I
is,
forgot
just
Canada, don't
is there
mommy?
any is there any redemption to that after X amount of years?
There
to be
is
honest,
there Go ahead. They'll tell the law provides for a redemption. It's going to be very hard for you to convince a consular officer that you were honest when you violated the terms of your visa by taking employment in the United States.
yeah,
It's going to
yeah.
be hard. So the law
It is
provides
hard.
5 years. After 5 years, technically, if you were removed, expedited removal after 5 years, you're supposed to be able to go. Is it 5 or 3, Michelle? I think it's 5.
It's 5, and some people got like one client that had got 10.
Some people it's
And
10.
yeah, so
Yes. And
and
you
to be
wait your
honest,
10 years. You wait your
it's
10
the
years, and
yeah,
reapply. Them not
and
give
it's
you
still no.
nothing. A
'Cause
waste of
it's not
time.
gonna be overcome. It's
It's
not.
not the burden because remember, they're looking at the burden of presumption, and you cannot overcome the burden when
Mm.
factually you've
Yeah, that
already
happened.
violated the terms of that visa.
Yeah, and
What about
also when they violate that, even if a family member is petitioning for you,
mhm.
it's gonna be denied
It's
because
a
they're gonna
headache.
look back at that
It's a
and
headache.
deny. Because
Well,
I've had it happen to people,
And
which
there's
I've
a
well,
said,
way
oh,
you
the
can
well,
do the
required
waiver
time.
again, and it's still it's
Yeah,
just a it's
yeah, the
just a
waiver
high
doesn't
burden.
help.
It
just
doesn't
take your
help.
mind off America. You might go Canada
Got Canada.
or go
Is there
England.
so
Probably more.
what about the marital status where you can come here and get married and then do the filing? Is there, I mean, what about that? Is there anything that has been updated about that?
I
Or
would be careful. So if you're coming through the airport, and I'm not telling you to lie, I'm not giving you legal advice. If you have a visitor's visa, you
mhm.
cannot
Hmm.
use it to come into the United States where your
Get married.
intent, because it's called non-immigrant intent. Whenever visitor's visa, it means you're coming in, you're going to Disney World, you're gonna go to Sea World, you're gonna visit your auntie, and you're going to leave. That visitor's visa does not allow you to get married in the United States. And what the law says, they look at it, they said within 90 days. So within 90 days, so if you come in, wink, wink, nod, nod, you're going to get married, don't do anything for 90 days. Or even if you get married, don't file any paperwork because it's going to look like that's your true intent, and that cannot be your intent. You should not be coming in with all your documents, your birth paper, your school
Yeah, they do look
documents,
at that
the
too.
wedding frock in the suitcase. You cannot be coming in with that on a visitor's visa, because if that officer opened the suitcase and you start lying, now you're lying to an immigration official. So you're just making, so leave the wedding
Okay.
frock, leave the documents, make somebody DHL them to you. I'm not giving you false advice or wrong advice, but I'm just saying it no look good for you to have all these documents coming into the country.
The next thing again, what about you coming here to have a child? That one.
Ooh, I've had some
Well,
bad
now they're
horror
actually
stories like
turning back
that.
people. They're turning
They're
back
turning,
people. If they do see you
if
like
you're too
ahead,
far along,
yeah, they'll turn you back.
if I've had clients that have been too far along, and what they've done is they hold the passport at the airport. The
Yeah.
custom border, they held on, they hold your passport, hold all your travel documents. Um, yes, they hold everything, and they allow you to go have your baby because it's no longer safe for them to turn you around.
Wow.
Once you go back to get those documents, you're going on the next flight and your visa will be revocated. So you'll have a citizen child, because that the intent, you're violating immigration laws again.
Yeah.
That's not the
And
intent of a visa.
exactly. And that's a thing that Trump is actually, well, the administration
The
is
Yeah.
administration.
trying to pass.
We better vote right November.
That's another thing they're trying to go after, like individuals coming into the US to having their child. You know, they're working on trying to. I don't see where it's gonna happen because it's in the Constitution. Once you're born here, you know,
Yeah,
you're guaranteed.
birthright citizenship.
But they're
That's why he's
trying to,
turning them around. That's why they're turning you around at the border,
yeah,
because they can't stop the birthright citizenship.
So
yeah,
if they turn you around, let's say that person is coming in to just visit, probably to shop, get some nice baby clothes and stuff. And they're actually far advanced, and immigration realizes that, customs realizes that at the airport, and they turn them around. At this point, will they still have their visa, or they're going to take?
No,
well, if
it
they turn them
depends.
around, well, what I could say is this, like I've seen in instances where they say, all right, you're coming to shop, I'm going to give you a week. After a week, you have to leave
You
the
have to
country.
leave.
Okay.
If you stay beyond that week, then you know
They make
definitely
a
they
note.
are.
You've overstayed.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's a
but if
good
they
point.
suspect, because everything is discretionary. So if they decide that they don't want you here, they don't have to revoke your visa. They just can say, well, we don't want you here, and just tell you to go back on the next flight. You're mute.
I think she's talking to maybe family members.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh,
So it's really up to them. Everything is discretionary. I always tell people you don't have the right to anything. They could, you could go through, they could tell you go back the next day. They could tell you turn around, go back on your flight. So
they could give you
it's
a
really up
week.
to them.
They could
Anything
give
they
you a week,
suspect.
say go shopping and come back.
Yeah.
And when they do that, like if they give you 20 or 30 days, I see clients coming to me wanting to file an extension of status. I always say don't do it, because
Right.
there's a reason why they limited you, because they've suspected something.
Suspected something, right?
Yeah. And another thing, it just came to my mind while Diana was talking. Another thing is that with green card holders, a lot of green card holders decide to remain outside of the country, although they have a green card. I've noticed that a few of them coming in now, they are stamping their passport to let them know that they are not allowed to leave because they've been out of the country too long.
For too
Or
long.
they tell them that the next time they put them in removal proceeding or take away their green cards. I always tell people maintain your status, because what's happening is that a lot of them will stay in Jamaica, work, you're required to pay taxes. So if you're gonna show the United States that you intend to live here, you have to actually pay taxes. You have to show you have ties here. So I always recommend to people, pay your taxes, just maintain your status. Don't stay out of the country a year and say, oh, I need to come back. It's
Oh,
gonna be an issue.
Or file the re-entry permit that
Yeah,
gives you 2 years outside
2
of the
years.
country, so you at least protect your
You're
status.
protected. And it's quite simple. You just need to actually just do the petition, do your fingerprint,
And
and you
leave.
could go.
And
Yeah,
a family member can just mail it to you and you're
bring
good
your
for
card.
2 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
it's quite simple.
as you mentioned that, like if you have a child and you're sending them to Jamaica, a citizen child born here in the States, how long can they stay out of the country?
Forever till they're 30.
They can stay. They
Without
don't
Or
have
reach
an
100
issue.
years old. They're
No?
The only
citizens.
thing with some states is that if there's an issue with your spouse, they might want to say, you know, you're
Custody.
kidnapping the child
Yeah.
and bring back
Okay.
the child. So they might step in. but
What
it's
if
usually
you,
at the
so
state
what if
level.
you, and okay, so what about for parents who you have a child with someone, the father's name is on the birth certificate, but you're not married to the person, and you want the mother, you don't have like a court, like a
You can do
court.
whatever you want.
Okay.
You would have to go establish that he's the father, and especially in Florida, if you're not married, the other person don't really have much right. They have to go to the
Okay.
court.
Okay. Anything else, Mrs. Diani?
If you have a green card, don't vote.
Say it
Oh
again.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Then again,
I didn't get that. Sorry.
If you have a green card, do not vote.
But
I
can
don't.
you vote? But can you vote with
Okay.
a green card?
Okay.
No,
You
No,
you
cannot.
can't vote.
right, you can, right.
But some people
No,
vote. I
some
don't
people
put
do
that I'm a
vote.
Really?
citizen.
Yes.
really?
Oh,
Yes.
I've
Easy.
never heard.
So you all
Yeah,
think
man,
only
people.
Jamaica have corrupt elections, huh? You're so
Oh,
innocent.
I got you now. I
Why you think they
understand
fix
you.
Florida? Why you think they fix
oh,
Florida?
Why you think Florida is a hanging Chad and hanging
Yeah.
this and so yeah, don't register to vote. Do
wow.
not register to vote if you have a green card. You will be encouraged to do so.
Yeah, they won't
But
stop you.
don't vote.
Yeah, I don't claim you're a citizen when you're
Don't
not.
claim you're a citizen anywhere. Even if in passing you're talking to somebody, don't say you're a citizen because it will come
Mm-mm.
back to harm you.
Yeah.
Okay, and another thing that came up last week when I was doing a citizenship is a male under the age of 26 didn't register for the selected service.
Mhm.
Just be mindful if you are between 18 and 26 and a male, you have to register for the selected service if you have a green card. A lot of people neglect to do that, but when you're doing your citizenship, they're gonna ask you and you have to provide proof.
Mhm.
So if you register for the selective service at the military, doesn't mean you're gonna go off to war.
It
It
just
doesn't
means you
mean they're gonna
Okay.
register.
send you anywhere. You just have to register. So a lot of people might think that, oh yeah, they go draft us. Draft doesn't exist anymore. So, but you have to do it. It's a requirement once you have a green card.
Okay.
And even if you're
You don't, that
undocumented
could be
and
a problem.
if you're
You're saying.
undocumented and in high school, you should register.
You should,
So
right?
yeah, you should.
Okay.
Like, a lot of dreamers, you come here and you're undocumented and you're in high school, which you can go to high school. Go ahead and register.
Wow, that's
Okay.
crazy.
Makes
That's a lot of
sense. This
information.
information are powerful information.
Yeah, very,
And we
very
could go
true.
on till tomorrow morning,
Oh,
Michelle,
no
couldn't
way.
we?
Yeah, we
Because you see in the practice, you see so many things happening and you're like, why would you
yeah,
do this? Or how did this happen?
exactly. It was avoidable.
So many things
Yeah.
are avoidable.
Yeah, but it's lack of information. And as I
Mhm.
said, people always look into the community expert or bush lawyer. So they
Mhm.
think
Yeah,
they know,
and that's
and
up
they
to you,
don't.
ladies. I didn't have to pay for all of this. That's up to you. Clean, clear. You're a blessing. I didn't have to pay for this.
If God
Favor ain't fair.
give the Most High the glory, my dear, He deserves
Yeah.
it. That's who it belongs to. But I understand, and no problem where that is concerned. I mean, to our viewers, I just want to say I hope that, I mean, we didn't have a lot of questions from you guys, surprisingly, but I'm sure probably they were hitting the all the pointers that you were thinking about to ask them these questions. I mean, now is the time, like I mentioned, in the promo, that now is the time for you to ask questions, whatever your concerns are. And also, Diani, Angela wants to say that she appreciates you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, I mean, there you have it, guys. I mean, what else can I say? You had the opportunity. Opportunity only comes but once,
One.
Once.
right? So I do appreciate you, Queens, for giving us ammunition, so to speak, that we can put in our wherever we need to put it, so we can have an idea what to do, what not to do. And can you tell our viewers where to find you guys, just in case they need counseling or consultation?
Well, you could definitely find me on Facebook, Fanger Law Firm, or you could send me a message at michelle.t.fanger@gmail.com. Or my name is quite simple, Michelle Fanger. If you search on any social media, you're able to find me. or you could definitely give me a call at 904-338-6531. Oh, more copy, Diani. Oh, you do that.
I'm
So you
typing
can see.
you. Go ahead. I'm doing you. Repeat it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Or you could definitely reach out on my website. It's www.fangerlawfirm.com. I'm not tech savvy. Although me young. Mhm.
I think Queen Cleo is mute. Queen, you're mute.
Sorry
There
about
you
that.
go.
Okay, I'm here talking. Yes, I had to because the boys are in the background, Yeah,
Yeah.
so thank you so much for providing that, Michelle. We will put it under the post for those who want to reach out. And I know for Diani, you said you practice, is it just in Florida other than Jamaica? Other than Jamaica, here in the
No,
United
I
States.
actually practice all over the United States. I'm like the attorney that the evangelist went to in New York. So I do practice mainly up and down the East Coast. I don't venture too far west, but if I get a client west, I will go west. So I do practice all over the United States and soon to be licensed in Jamaica. I should have my license coming up in the next couple of weeks from
Awesome.
University of the
Nice.
West Indies. I just
Marvelous.
Congrats.
completed.
Take it. Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank
We
you.
need to
Thank
have
you.
a viral party.
That's what I'm saying.
I
Yeah.
should. I
Um,
should.
yes, people are asking about a part two. Are you?
Yeah.
I'm up for it.
I'm up for it.
Okay, so what we will do, we will contact you to decide on a date in the future because I know you ladies
Sure.
are very busy and like you said, things are starting to get back on track as it relates to processing. So I know you people will be vamped, so to speak.
Hmm.
But again, I really, really, it's an honor to have you guys on our panel as well, on Ladies Uplifting and Inspiring, as our motto is to our people is that your concern concerns us and together we will conquer. So with that being said, we look forward to having you back on our panel to
Thank you.
discuss further. And before we go, we normally head out with a word of prayer. So Carlene, would you do us the honor, please?
To God be the glory, the honor. Thank you, Jesus. Father, we give you thanks for this medium, this platform, even the Facebook platform. I think God, we give you thanks. You said when we come to you, we must come to you in the name of Jesus. And we come to you, Lord, as Abba Father. And we give you thanks, Lord God, mighty God, for your presence. We give you thanks, Lord, for these lawyers, these counselors. We give you thanks, even mighty God, for a moderator, Queen Cleopatra. We thank you for each and every individual's own. We thank you for favor. Even though there was a pandemic, Lord God, we stand out amidst the situation and the circumstances, Almighty God, because when we're supposed to be broken, we were just bent. So we give you thanks, Lord God, that divine favor will reach us, Lord God, in the region that you have called us, and that portal will be open, Almighty God, and that will we gain wisdom and whatever go out of our mouth, Lord God, to the wider society and to the world, they will adhere, Almighty God, to the situation and the circumstance. We thank you, Lord God, that you said your people lack knowledge because they reject knowledge, Lord, that they will not reject knowledge. They will not reject this information. They will adhere to the situation and be wise because you say we must be wise than a serpent, mighty God, and harmless as a dove. So we thank you, Lord God, that we will be wise in this season because you said your own people, you said reject knowledge, and we will not reject knowledge in this season. We will adhere to knowledge as we tell you thanks. We ask for your blood covering in Jesus' name we pray, and we tell you thanks, our Father.
Amen.
Thank
Amen.
Amen.
you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for
Thank
the word of
you.
prayer, Carlene. So here we're gonna wrap up. So guys, as you know, we just want to thank you as well for our strong supporters who are always behind us as well. And next week, stay tuned. We will be coming to you with a topic of our Black entrepreneurs and their business establishment. So stay tuned for next Friday. So again, like I said, we'll see you at the top because the bottom is too crowded. From Ladies Uplifting and Inspiring. You have a wonderful weekend, ladies.
Thank
Enjoy.
you. Bye.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Thank you all.